Thank you for taking the time. It's so nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Let's
Yeah.
just jump right into it and get going. I know you are probably very busy, so yeah, I think the most one of the most striking things about the Voice of Hind Rajab is this kind of hybrid format you chose to go with. It has, the documentary flair, but also the narrative kind of style. What informed your decision to tell this story in that way rather than maybe like a straightforward documentary?
Yeah, this is a very good question because this is a question I thought about. You can
Hmm.
imagine while developing the movie and trying to find the right way to tell this story. It's about, the right way. And I thought, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I did documentaries. So my first, how to say, idea was maybe to do a documentary, but I quickly understood that it's not the right way to tell this story, and I'll explain why. First, because I wanted to be faithful to the feeling I had when I heard her voice for the first time. And this is what I want to convey, which is when I heard her voice, she was alive. It was possible to save her. And I was in this immediacy, in the present tense of please come and get me. When you do documentary, it's always something about an event in the past,
Hmm.
you don't have the present tense, you don't have this impactful thing, and documentary mainly is about explaining, and I didn't want to explain because not that I don't want to explain, because it was already done before me doing this movie. There was a documentary done by Al Jazeera, a great piece based on the investigative work done by the Washington Post and the forensic architect, where you have all the proof, of this war crime, which kind of weapon, and interview with some of the Red Crescent people and the Red Crescent real hero. Not all of them wanted to speak in front of a camera, So with all those elements, I was thinking that documentary is not maybe the right way to tell this story. I needed to go back to the immediacy of her voice. I needed to make a movie that can be, at the same time respectful and impactful. So how do you have impact, by going back to this moment, by hiring actors that represent, vessels to the real character, what we call reenactment,
Hmm.
but also I knew that it's a risky choice,
Yeah.
because for many people, when they see actors, they think about artifice, So I needed to have with the audience clear contract telling them those are actors, and even actors sometimes stop acting, to listen to the real voices of their characters speaking to him until this moment at the end, when we see the real protagonist of this story.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is so impactful. I was thinking of the quote watching this, movies are an empathy machine, and I really think you tapped into that beautifully. Speaking of the actors and kind of, I've seen you talk about how at like a point sometimes they've stopped acting, listening to the audio. You assembled a phenomenal ensemble of Palestinian actors here. Um, could you kind of talk about how you maintained a space where they were able to go to the places the film required while also like allowing not just them, but the crew at large to kind of take care of themselves and make sure like they were taking care of themselves? Because I can imagine this was probably quite emotionally impactful for them as people beyond just the acting.
Yeah, sure. No, this is was important. We were together in this, and I think this is the shooting where we had the longest break
Mm,
to speak and to hug each other. But this is the paradox. Before starting doing this movie, we all, and especially them, following what was happening in Gaza and being so depressed, feeling so helpless, you know. But the fact that we were doing this movie gave us, in a way, courage, because we weren't staying silent. We weren't doing nothing, you know. We weren't passive consumer of horror happening in Gaza. We were doing something. And this was very important for them, to give them courage to continue, to carry on, and to tell this story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Speaking of courage, I know you talked with Hin's mother and kind of getting this movie together. Could you just tell me like what that initial conversation uh, looked like with Hin's mother, and like what did it mean for you for her to trust you with her story?
Yeah, you know, we had another conversation recently
Mm.
about this initial conversation, you know.
Oh,
And she told me when I called her, because, you know, you call someone who just lost his child, you try to find the right words to say condolence, to say, I understand your pain. And she told me, you know, when you called me, because I'm in Gaza, because everybody's losing someone or everybody's in survival mode, we don't have the time to console each other. So the fact that you consoled me, for me, it was a big deal, you know, which is something normal, you know.
yeah,
But in my situation, it gives me, you know, courage. And she told me, I was thinking that because I wasn't sure that I'll survive, maybe I'll be bombed, maybe I'll be killed, you know. I was thinking that there is someone who will do a movie, you know. So if even if I die, there's someone who will tell the story of my daughter. But at the time when I spoke with her, she didn't told me this, you know, because we don't know each other. But she told me something else that for me, it was very important. She told me, you know, I want justice for my daughter. So if your movie can help in a way, because as we all know, there is no accountability for Israeli army, you know.
yeah,
So talking about justice, and for a mother who lost her child being murdered in this way, she told me, if your movie can help in a way, please do it.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think too, like I would imagine, excuse me, I would imagine for you, did it feel like a big undertaking then after having that conversation, or did you kind of having her blessing like feel good about moving forward then and telling the story?
Uh, I mean, not doing this movie wasn't an option.
Yeah,
And when she told me this about justice, I said maybe cinema can play this difficult part. You know, I'm always thinking about what cinema can do. You know,
hmm,
what cinema can tell about our time, the world we are living, and how can cinema impact things. So when she told me this, for me, it's like, go, do it. And with this hope, you know, not only to do a movie, to remember this little girl, to honor her voice and to make her voice echo, but also to do a movie that can be a call for action,
yeah,
that can be change maybe things.
absolutely. I think another like crucial piece of this film is you also like really don't shy away from the toll it takes on the Red Cross or the Red Crescent workers. Could you talk about were you able to talk to those workers before filming as well, or um, have you spoken to them since the film's come out? Could you kind of talk
Yeah,
about that?
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the recording, you know.
Yeah.
When I decided to tell this story from their point of view, I needed to know what happened in their offices that day, you
Yeah.
know. So they were partner in
Mm,
writing the movie, because they told me everything I needed to know through long
yeah.
testimony. And then when I wrote the screenplay, I shared it with them. And then when I did the casting, I put the actor in contact with them. And then
Mm,
when we finished the editing, we organized the screening in their, in their Red Crescent headquarters
Yeah.
in Ramallah. They watched the movie, so they've been very close all the way.
I really appreciate like your intention with this film and every decision. I think there's so much intention and care in every facet. So I really appreciate you sharing these stories. I think it's so crucial to how this was made. Um, I think one of the most memorable parts of my experience with this film is it comes towards the end with the Red Crescent workers, and they're being filmed on a phone for social media, and we kind of see their real life counterparts on that phone screen. I thought that was such a striking moment. How did you arrive at that decision, and why was that important for you to kind of have that moment in there?
Yeah, I mean, this is a purely mise en scène decision, but it's not like for formal pleasure, you know?
No, of
No,
course.
what happened at this moment? At this moment, before switching, and seeing the real person on the phone, in this moment, they heard a bombardment of their colleagues sent to save Hind, um, Ahmed Madoun and Yusuf Zainu. And all the movie is a discussion about how to protect those people, how they need to play everything by the book, to accept the rule of imposed by the Israeli army, to not send their colleague to their death. And actually, when I was in contact with them, I asked them if they have any archive coming from that day,
Mm,
and they sent me this video that was also on internet. They publish it in their Facebook page, I think. And I realized that their colleagues start filming when they heard the bombardment, and they were like trying to figure out, is it true, because it's unbelievable.
yeah,
You They did everything to protect their colleague. They got the safe route and the green light from the Israeli army. They sent the ambulance meters away, and this, you hear it in the recording. It's a document. It's not something that I invented. You hear in the recording the Yusuf Zainu, the paramedic, telling Mahdi, here she is. He saw the car where Hind is hidden, and then you hear the bombardment. So when I heard this already in the recording, I was like, this is not true, but
yeah,
it's true.
yeah.
So because it's beyond the unthinkable, I needed at this moment to go back to something very real.
Mm,
And I was lucky enough to have this archive of the real person. And I needed to say also at the end that this is a reenactment. I'll show you the real hero, and they are here at this moment, which seem completely nightmarish, not real, wondering if what they just heard is real, and asking Hind if she heard the shot. So this is why the decision, from this
yeah,
moment to go back to something very archival.
absolutely. I got goosebumps hearing you talk about that because I remember my experience in the theater. I couldn't. It's so unbelievable.
Yeah,
It it's
it's
just
true.
yeah. Uh, um, I read somewhere, speaking of real archival um, things, you used the real audio, obviously, of Hin's call. I read somewhere that you opted not to like clean up the audio. You kept it intact. Why was it important for you to preserve it in its original form and not touch it up?
Because it was powerful enough like this, and I needed because also it's a phone call where they call her and the line went go dead, and you have all the jamming and all the interference and all the noise. It's not an easy communication.
Hmm.
Ramallah and Gaza and the West Bank and Gaza, they are separated. So there is something very authentic, yeah, for sure, but very symbolic also
Yeah.
in this quality of audio files.
Yeah, I agree. I think too, for me at least, in like a weird way, it felt kind of preserving her and her final moments too. It felt uh respectful of her and her ordeal. Um
Yeah.
yeah. Um Kind of to wrap up on a bigger scale question, I in the film space I see a lot of people unfortunately argue that we see like we should keep politics out of our art, but I think art is one of our most political vessels, and you've kind of touched on it here. I wanted to know, why do you think film in particular is like a great vessel to discuss these big things happening in our world, these big political uh, issues, or like in the case of this film, this horrific genocide happening? Why do you think film is the perfect medium to bring that to
It's
light?
not the only medium, and it's not the perfect medium. And the people who argue that we should keep politics outside of our art, this is a political decision, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
already a political position. So they are doing politics without maybe knowing it, or maybe they know it and they are trying to hide it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I think that this is what art did, what storytelling did through the human history. We live in a world that is sometimes looks meaningless or chaotic, you know. We are looking for meaning, to understand the world we live in, you know, to see more perspective, to have other point of view. So I think art should do this, and cinema can do this. It's not the only uh, place to do it, but it's an important one because in cinema you experience the otherness, you know, and
Mm.
this is very, very important for our humanity, I would say.
Yeah. I I mean I totally agree. I think the experience of seeing this with an audience, I it was such a collective shared thing. I kind of lack like a good way to describe it, but it did feel so communal in that way when
Yeah.
I saw this, um, for better or worse, in the negative and the positive feelings. Like it was such a collective experience. Yeah. Those are all my questions I have for you. Again, I told you when we spoke last, like I am so in awe of this film, and I thank you again
Thank
for
you.
making it and taking the time. This is truly an honor for me. I will never forget this experience, and it's such an honor to
Thank you,
talk to
Adam.
you as a filmmaker.
Thank you for telling me this, and thank you for amplifying the voice of Hind Rajab. This is very important.
Of
Thank
course.
you. Have
Of
a nice
course.
day.
Yes, you too.